Alright, so you probably have more than $3, but the biggest mistake that I see adult gamers make is not buying games in full price. It's actually buying games that they weren't ever going to really enjoy in the first place. With game prices increasing and adult responsibilities starting to take up our time, I have to become much more intentional with what games I spend my time and money on. So today I wanted to share with you guys the mindset and system that I personally use to save money while still enjoying gaming as a hobby. So the biggest thing that helped me save money on games is understanding my own preferences. I know that sounds counterintuitive because learning your own tastes often involve spending money on games that you may not end up liking. However, I try to think of it as a long-term investment because the quicker you understand your preferences, the less likely you're going to buy a game that you won't enjoy. And so the best way to do that is to really try new genres. And to reduce the cost of experimentation, I highly encourage you guys to take advantage of the free section in the Steam store page, the Epic Games Store, which provides 1 to 2 free games per week, and video game demos. Remember, the goal isn't to play everything, it's to play games that consistently resonate with you. Once your taste starts to solidify, it becomes that much easier to evaluate whether you should spend money on a game. Personally, I like to read or watch reviews from trusted reviewers who have consistently recommended video games to me in the past. When a reviewer shares a common gaming taste, their opinion becomes that much more valuable. Alternatively, you can also just trust yourself and try to evaluate the games yourself based on gameplay footage, trailers, and previews. Although I would prioritize the gameplay footage unless you are very invested in that world, that franchise, those characters. At this point, I'm usually asking myself, does the game align with my preferences based on the mechanics and the player fantasy? If not, then I move on. If a game looks interesting, I add it to my wish list, but I don't buy it right away. I almost never buy games immediately because I already have a sizable backlog that I want to work through. Something that I'm trying to actively discipline myself to do is to finish more of my backlog before buying additional games. However, I do want to add an important caveat. Prioritize fun. Backlogs are supposed to help you save money. They're not supposed to feel like homework. If a game on your backlog, or if the games on your backlog do not genuinely excite you and you can comfortably afford that new game that will, then please do so. Gaming is supposed to be a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. Once the game has been added to my wishlist, I wait for a sale. For Nintendo and PlayStation, I always prioritize first-party exclusives on a physical format. And so I wait for their specialized days like March 10th, which is Mario Day for Nintendo, and then PlayStation's Days of Play, which features their best discounts. I've also seen a couple physical copies at Costco that sell for a little bit cheaper. I was able to get Donkey Kong Bonanza for $63 instead of $70 on launch day or launch week. And then I've also seen most recently physical copies on Amazon Prime Day for a pretty good discount as well. I've also checked Facebook Marketplace a couple times to see if anyone in my area is selling physical copies at a discount. This method is only preferable if you trust people and you're okay with playing used games. And then I've also, relied on my friends who love video games as much as I do. And if they have a physical copy of a game that I've been wanting to try, I usually ask to borrow and they usually let me do so. So exclusives aside, for third party, I always buy on Steam. I always wait for their seasonal sales, such as the fall, winter, spring, and summer sales, because I feel like those have the best discounts. And when those deals come in, I set a budget for myself and then I prioritize games that are all-time low price. And the way I check this is DekuDeals.com. I go to the hottest deals section, I filter by platform, format, and storefront, and then I filter for all-time low. That way, I'm able to maximize the value of my budget and then also avoid impulse purchases. With this method, I was able to buy 10 games for $67 on the last Steam Spring Sale. So I haven't finished my backlog, but when I do, I plan to take advantage of free games, free demos, and free trials in between the major gaps between video game sales. For example, I'm really interested in Final Fantasy XIV's free trial because I heard it's very generous and they have a really good story. Alternatively, there are also free-to-play multiplayer competitive games like League of Legends, Valorant, Deadlock if that's more your style. But if that isn't your style, And I know this is predominantly a gaming channel, but try different hobbies, you know, maybe put gaming on a break, try reading like I am, and maybe you'll find that gaming is that much more fun when you come back. At the end of the day, the biggest money saving strategy isn't simply just waiting for sales. It's becoming extremely selective about what you buy. The quicker you understand your own preferences, the more you're going to avoid buying games that won't keep your interest. I hope these tips help my fellow adult gamers out there get the maximum value out of their hard-earned dollars. And if you guys have any other money saving tips that I haven't already mentioned, please drop them in the comments below so that we can all take benefit from it. I hope you guys got something useful out of this video, and I really appreciate you guys for watching.